We basically needed to obliterate our marriage, gracious. Definitely, I really wanted more opportunity through our torment. We should attempt to learn through our agony, continuously disclosures with the Smith family, continue getting all the seriously fascinating. And presently it appears Willow has had enough of her folks despite the fact that they've been extremely open about their family's whimsical strategies for getting things done, yet it appears Willow's had it up to the neck and is currently attacking her mom. Does Willow fault her mother for the family issues? Does she think Jada is a horrible mother? Will and Jada have been viewed as by a few group over the course of the years as the fantasy couple, yet the present moment things are stirring things up around town. And surprisingly, their child is shouting out it's viewed as broad information that the Smiths have a really strange life. Yet that turned out to be far more atrocious with their children, and Willow appears to have contacted her limit. While this is simply one more disclosure by the vocalist, this isn't the initial time she stood in opposition to the hardships of being Jada's child. As per her, growing up with guardians like Will and Jada wasn't the very fantasy most children out there presumably think it was, as they had a really unconventional approach to bringing up their kids. The Whip My Hair vocalist has been talking about her troublesome relationship with her folks a ton. And presently, she's affirmed that traces all the way back to when she originally broke into the music business. I just have one horrendous experience, which is Whip My Hair, Willow says, when she got some information about the times she experienced issues interfacing with her folks, that the upsides of individuals around me ought to have been the contrary. You and Daddy ought to have been similar to approve. We esteem her melodic development and information more than her prominence. While her girl saw things as troublesome at home, Jada accepted she was truly helping Willow, expressing that she grew up at an alternate time on the planet when individuals needed to endeavor to excel in life. For us, it's that endurance mindset. The 50-year-old entertainer noticed your father and we resembled. Goodness, man, she'll be separate up for life. This is her beginning, despite the fact that there could have been a reality to Jada's words that was just the start of Willow's difficulties. As a Smith kid, the 21-year-old vocalist later opened up a smidgen more and shed light on a few other additional fascinating ways of thinking that were utilized in raising her. And think about where it occurred. That's right in her mother's own show, on an episode of Red Casual Conversation with her mother Jada and her grandma Adrienne Banfield Norris, while they were talking on the utilization of disgrace as a nurturing apparatus. Willow thought back on her initial relationship with her folks, and furthermore pondered minutes when she felt like she had been disgraced by her mother, including times when she was genuinely striving. Willow said, "When I was more youthful, I would get very profound. And like I get very profound now," she went on, "yet you would take a gander at me. And afterward, you would resemble, better believe it, you can cry, yet do it around there like go into your room, and do it around there like you're driving me away for crying, like I'm a terrible individual for crying." Jada then conceded that she was at the time managing her own concerns and didn't have the foggiest idea how what she was doing wasn't affirm, yet later developed to comprehend how her way of behaving was awful. I, in all actuality, do perceive those minutes, and it had a ton to do with me not having the option to deal with my own weakness. At the time experiencing childhood, in those conditions we experienced childhood and it's an alternate battleground now, she expressed, in keeping in mind that the vast majority would feel that this is the level of her deficiencies as a parent. It doesn't start to expose what's underneath from being scrutinized for her girl, taking it as some degree uncommon picture. With a clearly more established man at 13, Jada was likewise lashed by the web for her girl, getting shirtless quite early on, yet while the entertainer had the option to safeguard these and pin it on her strange nurturing procedures, it turned into an entirely different story. When Willow uncovered she'd been slitting her wrist, really felt like I was encountering such a lot of close-to-home torment. Yet my actual conditions were reflected, mirroring that wow in the expressions of the vocalist. I would have To say I genuinely feel like I lost my mental stability, at one point Willow said our troublesome time in the wake of soaring to popularity in 2010 after the visit, and the advancement, and each of that they believed that me should complete my collection. And I was like, I won't do that after the entirety of that sort of settled down, and it resembled a break. I was paying attention to a ton of dull music. And it was simply so insane, I was dove into this dark opening. And I resembled cutting myself and doing insane things. And keeping in mind that her mom has apologized for her setbacks as a parent in raising her, and her kin fans generally like to assume Jada is the issue. And who can fault them given what was been uncovered about her union? With Will over the most recent few months, one client composed, I can't envision the unrelenting, ceaseless torment of residing with that lady, constantly never knowing, while she will truly do say another thing to hurt you, a subsequent client. Concurred that Jada was essentially the issue, even in her marriage, they composed. I think we as a whole realize somebody like Jada, who does anything they desire for consideration, however at that point, needs to devise some lengthy way of thinking talk to make sense of why they are more brilliant and kinder than you for doing it each time. She says the red table stuff was to Will's greatest advantage. It helps me to remember genuine controllers. I know another person who likewise referenced how she is the miscreant in the marriage, and surprisingly raised her previous undertaking, or as she said, trapped the August thing in the red casual conversation about it fell off to me, is definitely Will was apparently harmed yet willing to stay close by and work on their marriage. And that is not so much for me to pass judgment or ridicule the manner in which the web was going for Jada's throat. It appeared to be showing the difficult work that goes into a marriage of two individuals who have chosen to invest that hard effort in one more client, even unequivocally stated that will needed to separate Jada for him to be free. And surprisingly, referred to that she was beginning to get to Willow, he wants to check the prenuptials. And split, she gradually, unintentionally controlled him to be this way, and commits a few serious demonstrations of self-destructive behavior despite his desire to the contrary, actually helps me to remember the catastrophe interview she did with him for the Roundtable show. Recall the letter from Willow to Tupac, better believe it. And I'm certain more hogwash was expressed anyway in an unforeseen new development. Willow is by all accounts more comprehension of her folks' relationship than the vast majority. And for what reason wouldn't they lived respectively? As of late, while on a meeting with autonomous, Willow shared how she feels about her folks' periodically wild relationship. Now that she's significantly more established and considers things to be a grown-up, and albeit this is typically a hazy situation for most children, yet not Willow, she had a ton to say. She said, I feel I've generally perceived that my folks are their own kin, a ton of children. Consider their folks like your entire character, is for me yet seeing them in this way of life we had from an extremely youthful age. It was obvious to me they weren't my folks, they're full others who have their own feelings. This is really justifiable, given that her folks were at that point immovably in the public eye, even before she was conceived, and would have had a quite troublesome time reshaping their personalities after the children were conceived. Willow likewise proceeded to discuss how the red casual conversation show has made a protected and educative road where she and her whole family can communicate their thoughts with next to no trepidation. She said it's energizing for me when alternate points of view begin to emerge in conflict. Somewhat such a large amount, the time we concur go young lady 100, so I like. When that happens, that is the way you develop. On the off chance that you're continuously concurring, you're not making a groundbreaking thought. People get such a lot of solace from every one of the designs we've made for ourselves, all that in its little box. It's more than clear from Willow's words that she's become a long ways past the majority of her experience growing up issues, and presently comprehends her folks better, and keeping in mind that that is something beneficial for her new occasions, have made a few of the fans pretty suspicious about how extraordinary of a spouse and parent her mother is nevertheless perhaps she's right. Let us know what you believe. That finishes us of the present video. See you sometime later.